This is Mrs. Wainwright's math class, Chapter 3, Lesson 11, Balancing a Checkbook. Today's learning target: by the end of this lesson, you should confidently be able to say, I can use the strategy, make a table to organize and keep track of a bank account balance. And we have some vocabulary for today. And our first vocabulary word is balance. And balance is the amount of money in your bank account that is available for you to spend. So if you have $525 for your balance, that means you could spend $525 if you wanted to, but you could not spend more than that. Our next vocabulary word is deposit. To deposit is to add money to your bank account. Our next vocabulary word is withdrawal. When you're making a withdrawal, you're withdrawing money or taking money out of your bank account. So withdrawal is to subtract money from your bank account and use it for something else. Our next word is debit card. A debit card is a bank card that can be used in place of cash. The money gets subtracted from your bank account. And our final vocabulary word is check. And a check is a special paper used in place of cash to pay for something. The money then gets subtracted from your bank account. The next two screens won't make sense now, but they should make sense after the lesson, and it's just really a checkbook register cheat sheet. You can go back to the lesson to look at it. You also will have a hard copy of this in your Chapter 3 packet. It will be the first page of your packet. This is simply the second slide for your cheat sheet. So let's take a look at example number 1. Example number 1 says Mrs. Wainwright's checking account balance is $863.47. On 9/18, Mrs. Wainwright stops at the Chocolate Emporium to buy treats. She pays $15 with her debit card. Mrs. Wainwright deposits her $50 birthday check from her mom on 9/25. She earns $0.62 of bank interest on 9/30. On 10/2, Mrs. Wainwright's family visits the M&M store and they buy souvenirs. They pay $43.15 with check number 854. On their way home on 10/2, they stop at the ATM and withdraw $60. What is Mrs. Wainwright's remaining balance? Well, let's do this one step at a time. And the first thing we do is look for the starting balance. I see the very first sentence right here says Mrs. Wainwright's checking account balance is $863.47. So we're going to turn to our checkbook register, which looks like this, and we write the balance right here on the top right hand corner. So I'll write $863, a decimal right above this line, and 47 cents. That's my beginning balance. Since I found the beginning balance, I'll put a check next to it to show that I'm done with this one. I know I'm moving on to the next section. So it says on 9/18, Mrs. Wainwright stops at the Chocolate Emporium to buy treats. She pays $15.25 with her debit card. So I turn to my checkbook register and I look at the next section. Notice this section right here. It has a white box on top and a gray box on bottom, but notice how it is separated between these lines, right? Straight across, all the way across. We have the white section up here and the gray section right down here. So the first thing I'm going to look for is what type of transaction this is, and it says that I pay by debit card. This is a debit card transaction. So right under here, under number or code, I will write a DC, which stands for debit card. Then let's go back and find the date. It says 9/18. Normally you'd write a year. This doesn't have a year, so you'll use the current year. So I will write 9/18, and since the year that I'm doing this in is 2018, I will put an 18 underneath. The next section right up here, it asks for the transaction description. So if I go back here, where did I make the purchase from? And I made the purchase from the Chocolate Emporium, and what did I buy? I bought treats. So on the white section, I will write Chocolate Emporium, which is the name of the store. You have to write the entire name of the store or the entire name of the person. And I bought treats. I write the treats in the gray section. Let's go back to my problem. And remember, it says that I bought something with my debit card. When I buy something, am I adding money to my account, or am I taking money out of my account? Well, think about it. When you buy something, do you have to pay for it, take money out of your account and pay for it? When you buy something, do they give you money and tell you to put it in your bank account? Of course you have to pay for it, so you're taking money out of your bank account. So I'm going to go to this section right over here, put an arrow to it, which is the payment amount, or with the withdrawal section, and I'll write my amount in that section. So I see that I paid $15.25 on my debit card. Therefore, I will write the $15, which goes to the left of this gray line over here, and the change goes to the right, 25. They put that line there so that you do not have to put decimals in. So my payment for my debit card was $15.25. I'm going to move over to my total column. Again, I'm subtracting it. When I buy something, I'm taking money out of my bank account. So I write down my $15. Notice how I'm lining up my number columns. This line counts in place of my decimal. And my change, I will also line up those number columns for 25 cents. That gets written in the white portion of the box, the white section. Now I'm going to use a little scrap paper to figure out what $863.47 minus $15.25 equals. Don't forget, when I am adding and subtracting decimals, add, subtract decimals, always straight decimals. So I do need to line up my decimals. And this was 15.25. And line up my columns. And now I can go ahead and subtract. So 7 minus 5 equals 2, and 4 minus 2 equals 2. Bring down my decimal, add, subtract decimals, always straight decimals, including in the answer. 3 minus 5, I can't do it, so I cross out the 6 and make it a 5, and this becomes a 13. 13 minus 5 is 8. 5 minus 1 is 4. 8 minus nothing is 8, and put my $sign. So my current balance is $848.22, and I'll put that back into the gray box. $848.22. Notice I'm lining up all of my digits. Okay, I finished my first transaction, so I will check it off so I know that I am up to my next transaction, which is right here. It says Mrs. Wainwright deposits her $50 birthday check from her mom on 9/25. I'm going to fill this out in my checkbook register, and once again, my first section asks for the number or the code. And I notice that this is a deposit, so for a deposit we put the letter D. The next section asks for the date, so I'll check out my date, and I notice that this transaction happened on 9/25. So under date, I will write 9/25/18. I can't fit the whole date on the line, so that's why I tend to put my year on the gray box on the bottom. My next section is the transaction description, and I see that I am making a deposit for a birthday check, and it's from my mom. So for a deposit in the white section, I'll write deposit. In the gray section, I'll write why I'm making the deposit, and it's my birthday money from mom. Now I have to decide whether this is a payment or a deposit, and as the word says deposit, it is going to be a deposit, so therefore I am going to write it in this deposit section right over here. Change, but I know if it doesn't tell me anything, that means there's no change, so I do put a 00 to mark my change column. And again, since it's a deposit and I'm adding it to my bank account, I will put a plus sign, and I will line up all my columns. Remember, the line counts as your decimal. And now I'll move to scrap paper to add $50 and see what my new balance is. So add, subtract decimals, always straight decimals, line up my decimal. In front of it I have a 50, after it I have 00. I'm adding the deposit, and 2 plus 0 is 2, 2 plus 0 is 2. Bring down my decimal. 8 plus 0 is 8, 4 plus 5 is 9, 8 plus nothing is 8, and bring down my $sign. So my new balance is $898.22. So I transfer that to the gray box, $898.22, again lining up all of my number columns. Okay. Okay, so I finished with this one, so I will check it off to know that I am done with it, and I move on to my next line that says, she earns 62 cents of bank interest on 9/30. Remember, when you keep money in a bank account, you gain some interest. Not a lot, sadly, but some. So let's see how I fill this into my register. My first column wants to know what it is I'm doing, and this is bank interest, so I will label that with an I to show that I got interest. The next thing I'm looking for is my date, which I see is on 9/30, so I will write 9/30, and my current year is 2018. Next thing I look for is, what am I going to write on the line? Well, again, it is interest, so I will write on my line interest. How much was the interest? $0.62. And when you get interest, they're giving you money. So if they're giving you money, you're going to add it in as a deposit. So I have $0.62, which I'm going to add on $0.62. Let's go to my scrap paper and add that on to find my new total. And since I'm adding it on, add, subtract decimals, always straight decimals, line up my decimal. To the left I had a 0, to the right I had a 62. I'll add that together. 2 plus 2 is 4, 2 plus 6 is 8, bring down my decimal. 8 plus 0 is 8, 9 plus nothing is 9, 8 plus nothing is 8, and bring down my dollar sign. So my new balance is $898.84. We'll transfer that over. Very important to always keep my new balance. And there I go in the gray box, $898.84, lining up all of my digits. Go back to my original problem. I'm done with this one, so I will put a check, and I move on to the next line. And it says, on 10/2, Mrs. Wainwright's family visits the M&M store, and they buy souvenirs. They pay $43.15 with check number 854. What type of transaction is this? This is check, and it's number 854, so that's what I'll be writing on my register. So I write down 854. I simply write down the check number, so when I see the number, I know it's a check. I need to find the date, and here it is, 10/2. So I write my date, 10/2/18. Who did I write the check to? Well, the name of the store was the M&M store. And what did I buy? Souvenirs. So I write down M&M store, which is the name of the store I made the purchase at in the white section, and what I bought, which is souvenirs, in my gray section. And next I have to say, if I make a purchase from a store, am I taking money out of my account or putting money into my account? Well, I'm certainly taking it out. So that would be in the payment section, and that amount is going to go right here. When I go back to my problem, I see that I paid $43.15. So I'll write my $43.15, and again, I bought something, so I'm subtracting it with a minus sign. 43.15, lining up my digits. Let's move to my scrap paper and subtract. Add, subtract decimals is always straight decimals, so I'll line up my decimal. My 43 goes in front of it. My 15 goes after it. I'm subtracting. 4 minus 5 can't do it, so I cross out the 8, make it a 7. This turns into a 14, and 14 minus 5 is 9. 7 minus 1 is 6. Bring down my decimal. 8 minus 3 is 5. 9 minus 4 is 5. 8 minus nothing is 8. Bring down my dollar sign, so my new balance is $855.69. And very important that I remember to transfer that into the gray section so I know what my new balance is, $855.69. I finished with this one, so I'll check it off. And my last thing says, on their way home on 10/2, they stop at the ATM and withdraw $60. What am I doing? I'm withdrawing money from the ATM. So when I withdraw money, I write a W to show that I'm withdrawing or making a withdrawal. The date that I made this withdrawal was on 10/2. So I'll write 10/2/18 for my date. Where did I go for the withdrawal? I went to the ATM, so that's what I'll write on my line. I'll write ATM. I just took the money out to have cash, so I don't really have a real reason for it, so I'll leave the gray section blank. And when I make a withdrawal, go to the ATM and take money out. Am I taking money out of my bank account or adding money to my bank account? Well, of course, I'm taking money out, so that will go into this section right here. How much did I take out? Let's go back and look at my original problem. I see that I took out $60. So even though my change is 0, I still write it in with 2 zeros, so it'll be $60.00. Again, I'm withdrawing it, so I will be subtracting this. A subtraction sign, make sure I'm lining up my numbers because that is important, and I'll go ahead to my scrap paper to subtract that $60. Once again, add, subtract decimals, always straight decimals, so I line up my decimal and my digits to subtract my $60. 9 take away 0 is 9, 6 take away 0 is 6, bring down my decimal, 5 take away 0 is 5, 5 take away 6 I can't do, so I cross out the 8 to borrow, make it a 7, this becomes a 15, and 15 take away 6 is 9, 7 take away nothing is 7, so the new balance that I have is $795.69. Let's transfer that back in. So on the gray section of my total column, I write my balance of $795.69, again lining up all of my digits. I go back to my original problem and I see that I did indeed do the last thing, so I check it off, and now it wants to know what is Mrs. Wainwright's remaining balance. So I go back and I look at the very last number that I have in the gray box, which is $795.69. So I know that Mrs. Wainwright's remaining balance is $795.69. It is important to have the dollar sign, and it is important to have the decimal in the right place. Please stop the video and complete worksheet number 1 right now. Question number 2 says Mrs. Castellano's bank account has a starting balance of $628.45. Mrs. Castellano records her bank interest on 4/30, and she earned $0.58. On 5/3, Mrs. Castellano writes check number 1026 to Angela's Jewelry for $52.10 for some cute bracelets. On 5/6, Mrs. Castellano stops at Carvel for an ice cream cone. She pays $4.25 on her debit card. Mrs. Castellano drives up to the ATM on 5/7 and withdraws $20. She deposits a $35.75 check that she earned for tutoring on 5/10. What is Mrs. Castellano's remaining balance? So let's see what we know. We know that her starting balance is $628.45. So on the top right-hand side, all the way at the very top by the dollar sign, we'll write in the balance $628.45 for the 45 cents. So we'll check off the first one, and let's move to the next bullet. Mrs. Castellano records her bank interest on 4/30. She earned $0.58. So what is it? What type of transaction? It's an interest transaction. So on my register on the first box under number or code, I write down I for interest. What's the date? 4/30. So under date, I'll write 4/30/18 for the year. Again, what type of transaction is it? It's an interest transaction. So under transaction description, I will write interest. So how much was her interest? $0.58. Interest is money that the bank is paying us, so it's like a deposit because they're putting it into our bank account for us. So in the deposit section, I will write $0.58. We'll put a plus sign, $0.58. Let's go ahead and do the math. Add, subtract decimals, always straight decimals, so put down my decimal, $0.58 that I'm adding on. 5 plus 8 is 13, put down the 3, carry the 1. 1 plus 4 is 5, and 5 plus 5 is 10. Put down the 0, carry the 1, bring down my decimal. 1 plus 8 is 9, and 9 plus 0 is still 9. 2 plus nothing is 2, 6 plus nothing is 6. So my current balance, or Mrs. Castellano's current balance, is $629.03. Let's transfer that to our gray box. So transfer in that $629.03, being sure that we line up our digits. So we're finished with this one. Let's check it off, and let's underline our next transaction. What type of transaction is it? It's a check. Check number 1026. And remember, for a check, we simply write the check number down for the number or code, 1026 in this case. What's the date? 5/3. So I write 5/3/18. Who was this check written to? Well, the exact name of the store was Angela's Jewelry. And what did Mrs. Castellano buy? Some cute bracelets. So in the white section, we read exactly who the check was written to. So it's the exact name of the store, the exact name of the person. In this case, it's Angela's Jewelry. What did she buy? Some bracelets. Since Mrs. Castellano made a purchase, the money will be coming out of her bank account. She's making a payment. It will go in this box. How much did she pay for these bracelets? $52.10. So I write $52.10 in the payment box. This is a subtraction of 52.10. Make sure that I line up my digits. I can move to my scrap paper and do that math. Add, subtract decimals, always straight decimals, so line up my decimal, my 2 and my 5, and my 10. This is a subtraction problem. 3 minus 0 is 3. 0 minus 1 I can't do, so I'm going to cross out the 9, make it an 8. This becomes a 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. Bring down my decimal. 8 minus 2 is 6. 2 minus 5 I can't do, so cross out the 6, make it a 5. This becomes a 12. And 12 minus 5 is 7. 5 minus nothing is 5. So I'll transfer that $576.93 into my gray box for my current balance. My current balance is the $576.93. So I finished this transaction. I'll check it off, and we'll move on to our next transaction, which says on 5/6, Mrs. Castellano stops at Carvel for an ice cream cone. She pays $4.25 on her debit card. What kind of transaction this? This is a debit card transaction. So we will write DC for the debit card code. What's the date? 5/6. So we will write 5/6/18, or the current year. Mrs. Castellano used her debit card at Carvel for an ice cream cone. So in the white box, we'll write Carvel, which is who she spent the money or who she gave the money to, and she bought a cone. If she bought something, she's paying money to the store, so that's a payment, and will go in this box. How much did she pay? $4.25. So our payment is $4.25, and again we subtract payments. $4.25, lining up my digits. Let's go back to my scrap paper and subtract that $4.25. Add, subtract decimals, always straight decimals, so line up my decimal. In front of it is a 4, after it is a 25. This is a subtraction problem. 3 minus 5 I can't do, so I'm going to borrow. Cross out the 9, make it an 8. This becomes a 13. 13 minus 5 is 8. 8 minus 2 is 6. Bring down my decimal. 6 minus 4 is 2. 7 minus nothing is 7. 5 minus nothing is 5. My dollar sign. So my new balance is $572.68. Let's go back and write that in the gray box. $572.68. So I've completed this transaction. I will check it off and look at my next transaction. What type of transaction is it? It's a withdrawal from an ATM. So we'll write down W as our code for withdrawal. What's the date of the withdrawal? 5/7. So in date, we'll write 5/7, and the current year, in my case, is 18. And this withdrawal was at an ATM. So we simply write ATM in the white box of the transaction description. The amount was for $20. It doesn't show any change, so that means the change was 0 cents. And if she withdraws money or takes money out, she is taking it out of her bank account. She's making a payment to herself. It will go in this box. So it will be the $20.00. Again, she's taking it out of her bank to have cash in her hand. So we're subtracting the $20.00, lining up our digits. Let's go to our scrap paper and subtract that $20. Add, subtract decimals, always straight decimals, line up my decimal. To the left I have a 0 and a 2, to the right I have a 0 and a 0. It's a subtraction problem. 8 take away 0 is 8, 6 take away 0 is 6, bring down my decimal. 2 take away 0 is 2, 7 take away 2 is 5, 5 take away nothing is 5. So the current balance Mrs. Castellano has now is $552.68. Let's transfer that to the gray box. This gray box always shows my current balance, so after this transaction it was the $552.68. Okay, so we finished this transaction. We'll check it off, and it looks like we are on our last transaction. What type of transaction is it? It is a deposit. So our code for deposit is the letter D for deposit. What's the date of this deposit? 5/10. So we will write 5/10/18. And again, she's depositing a check that she earns for tutoring. So in the transaction description on the white section, we will write deposit. What was the deposit for? It was tutoring money. Put a $sign to show that it was tutoring money. When we make a deposit, we're adding money into our bank account, so we're going to put it in this deposit section and add it. The deposit is for $35.75. So we'll write the $35.75, add it, lining up all of our digits. Let's move to scrap paper to do the math. Add, subtract decimals, always straight decimals, so line up my decimal. To the left I have a 5 and a 3, to the right I have a 7 and a 5. This is adding my deposit on. 8 plus 5 is 13. Put down the 3, carry the 1. 1 plus 6 is 7, plus another 7 is 14. Put down the 4, carry the 1. Bring down my decimal. 1 plus 2 is 3, and add 5 to that, I get 8. 5 plus 3 is 8, and 5 plus nothing is 5. So the current balance is $588.43. Let's transfer that to the gray box. $588.43. So I finished this transaction, and I check it off, and I see that I am now up to my question, what is Mrs. Castellano's remaining balance? So to find the remaining balance, I go back to my checkbook register, and it's the very last gray box. That's the balance, which is $588.43. So Mrs. Castellano's remaining balance is $588.43. $588.43. $sign is necessary, and the decimal between the 8 and 4 is necessary as well. Please stop the video and complete worksheet number 2 right now. So let's review. You can go back to the checkbook register cheat sheet every time you're practicing, but you will need to know what to do for the test. It does tell you what to do, separates each section with a slash for checks, debit card purchases, ATM withdrawals, deposit, and interest. It just reminds you all the things we showed you in the lesson. Hopefully at this point in time you can confidently say, I can use the strategy make a table to organize and keep track of a bank account balance. Remember, we'll be doing more practice in class, and if you have any questions or concerns, please make sure to see a teacher. Good luck with this lesson.